I think the biggest reasons for joining the gang was you felt that neediness. It was like a family environment, a family culture. You had those guys that pretty much made you feel wanted. They took care of you. You were able to look up to some of them as, when you don't have a father in your life the way you want it, you're able to look up to some of the older guys as being like a father figure in your life. It created structure, it created balance, even though it was unhealthy. I think that it wasn't really about the money, it was just that you felt that need to be respected, and that need, I felt a need that I wanted to be wanted, but I also wanted to be respected. I didn't want people calling me the names that they used to call me no more, and it was like being in the game was a way that I was able to prove to everybody else that you're not gonna be able to call me what you call me. You're not gonna be able to say what you said to me. You're not gonna be able to jump me no more. You're not gonna be able to talk to me crazy because of the things of what my parents did. And then it also helped me to put money in my pocket. So now you can't say that I'm, Bebe's kid, or now you can't say that I'm this and that, because now I can take care of myself, and then I got people behind me that if you do disrespect me, then we're gonna come for you.
This one we started. What were some of your fears?
Some of my biggest fears was getting the news that my dad or my mom were dead from OD. That was always a big fear. Something happening to me because I was in the gang, a big fear. I had been jumped on a lot of things. And so it was a fear of losing your life. Other than that, it was just some of the inevitable, some of the things that transpired. Being homeless, but I think pretty much what I said first is my biggest fear is just getting that news of something happening to your parents because of their addictions. That was one of my biggest fears. I didn't fear man. So it was just pretty much, getting that bad news of something happening to my mom and my dad due to their sicknesses at the time, which was overdosing or something happening to them or somebody doing something to them because of their habits of what they had. That was my biggest fear, to lose my parents.
Little shout out your week. What was your life like once you joined the church? Oh, sorry. What do you want me to say again? How do you want me to say it?
How do you want to say it?
What was your life like once you joined operations? Would you say like that? What was your life like once you joined All Nations?
I think that's funny. I'll never forget the day when I met Apostle Matthew, and I got my mom who sent me to the church. I always talk about it. I was at one of their conferences, and I went there, and I had no intentions of joining church. I had no intentions of going back to church. I was selling drugs. I was the man, and I think it was hope was restored. Something was ignited on the inside of me spiritually. When I met him at a conference, I think it was 2010, it was at Reverend Hinton's facility, and it's quite funny that I was the only Robert in the room, and he said, "Hey, I hear the Spirit of the Lord saying that there's a Robert in the room. Is there a Robert? Where's Robert at?" And I'm looking around. I know my name is Robert, but I'm looking around like, ain't you talking about me? And true enough, it was me. I was the only Robert in the room out of the whole entire conference. And it's amazing how God works in mysterious ways. But I think that it restored a sense of hope in me, because when I went up there and he prophesied over me and told me some things about my life, that this guy don't even know me, I don't even know him from spit, but he was able to read my whole email about my life and tell me some things, and also tell me some futuristic things right there at that moment. And again, don't know me, made me know that God still loved me, God still thought about me, God had plans for me, and he restored hope. So All Nations was a turning point in my life. All Nations actually is a place where if you go there broken, they not gonna give up on you. You can go there. It's many churches you can go to in the city of Chicago, and many places you can go and worship, and people won't walk through the process of restoration with you. People won't walk through that redemptive time with you. And even in the midst of me going through that redemptive and restoration time, I had my ups and my downs. I had my falls where I fell back into some things. I wasn't committed to some things. But in the midst of it, I was never judged. And you always look at people from church to be somebody that judge you. I was never one time judged. They never gave up on me. They continued to push me. They continued to instill in me and help me to become a better man, a better father to my children, and a better son to the father to the kingdom of God. And I think that because of Apostle Matthew and Apostle BJ and Prophetess Keisha and many others that push me, I am a product or a byproduct of their investment in me. I am the person I am today. And without them and without All Nations, I would either be dead or in jail.
So once you got your life together and had to turn yourself in, how did it feel?
Man, I just talked about redemptive time. I just talked about being a byproduct. I just talked about a restoration process. And so you doing everything right. So I'm doing everything right now. I stopped selling drugs. I gave up gang banging. I got rid of everything that just affiliated with me. I denounced the Chaos name. They used to call me Chaos. I denounced that name. Wouldn't let people call me that name. I had started working for Target. I pretty much started spending more time with my son, started going to basketball games, started spending more time with my daughter, everything that could possibly was right. And then, you're going through a process in which, because of your past life, catches up with you, where you're going back and forth to court every month, not knowing what's going to happen. And, you sit in the courtroom and your lawyer comes and say, hey, I don't think that you're gonna beat this. They're offering you this. And you're like, nah, because that's not God's promises. That's not what God wants for my life. That's not what's going to happen. That's not what I'm going to take. You finally get to that point where you got to wrestle with your flesh. And I wrestled with my flesh. And I wrestled with God. And even though I wrestled with my flesh and I wrestled with God and tried to seek the counsel of my pastor and everybody else, and there was a lot of people saying that, no, don't do it, or no, this ain't gonna happen. That day came where I had to turn myself in, and it felt like everything caved in. I felt like that. I felt as if God failed me, when actually He wasn't failing me. He was still taking me through the process of restoration. So it was scary, it was traumatic, it was hurtful, but it was something that had to happen.
What was life like in jail?
So you go from a process where you got to turn yourself in. You walk through those back doors of the courtroom. They put you in this holding cell. You sitting in a holding cell by yourself, and all you can do is think. And so I've been to jail before, where I've had to stay there maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe a day, maybe. So it was like, oh, okay, But to go from county jail to Illinois Department of Corrections is totally different. So going down there and they putting you in a holding cell and you sitting in Joliet intake, a process that you supposed to sit in for only 7 days, and then they transfer you to your parent institute, whether it's Vienna, Menard, or wherever they transfer you to. My process was different, and it was traumatizing. It was one of the worst processes ever. First of all, the guy that killed my brother was on the bus with me, and we actually, and I received a prophetic word about that I would see him again, and that we would squash our beef, and I would forgive him, which I did. But then the second part was you were only supposed to sit in that cell for 7 days, and then they transfer you. I wound up sitting in the cell for 55 days, going from 165 pounds to 145 pounds, because they're not really feeding you. You get 3 meals a day on this little cot, but it's not enough. It's pretty much enough food to feed a baby or an infant, not a grown man. And you're in a cell. You only come out once a week to take a shower, and that shower is for 15 minutes. So you come out every Thursday. You got no phone calls. You got no way to write, no outlet. It's just you and one other person in the cell, and you're seeing all these people rotate out and get out of these cells and go to where they're supposed to go to finish the longevity of their time. But I'm still stuck there for 55 days. I felt, it was a place in which was horrible. But it was a place in which I was able to rekindle a fire and a passion with my God. I was able to reestablish my prayer life. I was able to spend more time with God, because it was only me and him in that cell. And it's just different. Hearing dudes bang on the walls all night, seeing people throw cartons of mess at guards, was crazy. And then from going there to Vienna, where I sat in Vienna, and then the first night in Vienna, I'm asleep on a cot, and the dude next to me gets beat up with a sock and a lock. They fight with socks and locks at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I've been to jail before, but I've heard about the stories about what happened when you go to these other places. To actually be there and see that it's a humbling experience. It's a life lesson. It was a learning lesson. The only good part about it is that I was able to reestablish myself spiritually and reconnect myself with God in a way that I haven't been able to connect myself with because of just the distractions of the world. I was also able to redefine who I was and find out who I was. So life on the inside is pretty much what everybody say life on the inside is. You got guys with guys, having sex with guys. You got, your Black Keystones here, your Gangster Disciples here, your BDs here, your Latin Kings there. You know what I'm saying? You go to eat. Certain people go to eat at a certain time. You got the Muslims, you got the Christians, you got Bible study. It's pretty much what they say it is, but it's just a traumatic experience because you're not with your family. You don't have access to a phone until you get to your parent company. So you can't use the phone for the first 30 days anyway, so you can't talk to nobody. You don't have no way to write or no contact with nobody. So it was traumatic. So it was only you and God, and the guys that you were locked up with. So life on the inside, I pretty much cried a lot as a grown man. I cried a lot at night saying, why was I here? Why did this happen to me? And I had to grow up. So it made me mature and made me grow up. And it made me learn that, you got to pay for the repercussions and consequences of your actions and the things that you do. And I paid my time to the state of Illinois, and I came home and made a decision that I would never wind up going back there, and I would do everything possible to make sure that I be the best person that I can be. And that's what I did.
What pushes you daily?
Not wanting to be a failure. wanted to fulfill my purpose and my destiny of who I was called to be, and wanting to leave a legacy. That's what pushes me. Wanting to instill values and worth in my children, but also my siblings. But I think the biggest thing is I want to be somebody in the Champion family, and I want to do something in the Champion family that was never done. And I want to leave a fruitful legacy. I want to be remembered, so that's what pushes me every day. But I want to be remembered for being and doing what God called me to be and do. So yes, the attributes of working for Target, Market Source, the attributes of the awards were all blessings from God. It wasn't nothing that I did; they were all accomplishments. But is that it? So I push myself every day to be the best version of me, and to be who God called me to be, and do what God called me to do. So what pushes me and motivates me and makes me get up every day is making sure God is glorified out of my life in every way, because without Him there is no me. Without the air that He allows me to breathe, there is no me. So making sure I glorify Him in my job, making sure I glorify Him in every way that I can. And I'm not perfect. We cannot never all be perfect, and I still make mistakes. But making sure that I spend time with God, and making sure that I glorify Him, and making sure that I leave a legacy of the best version of me, in which He created me to be, and what He created me to do.
About Asia?
Hi, funny. I met Asia. I watched Asia for a while. Put it to you like that. I watched her for a while. I work out of LA Fitness in Hyde Park, and she pretty much worked there. She worked at the front desk there, and every time I came in, every time I called out, left, I would see her on the days that I worked out. I pretty much worked out every night. And so I would just see her because she worked there, and I would watch her from a distance. You know, it was just something about her that I just wouldn't let it go. And so my buddy who worked in Target with me, with Market Source, pretty much he pretty much was working there as well, and then he introduced her to me, and she was kind of slick with it, saying, "Hey, if he wanted to talk to me, he could have just asked me for my number." I kind of like played the shy boy, but that's why I met her, and we kind of became friends. And she asked a question and say, "Hey, where's this leading to?" And I'm like, "Man, you know, it can lead to whatever you want it to lead to." And so it became a relationship. And she's, you know, the word of God says, when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. It also goes back to when it talks about how God put Adam to sleep and He pulled her from his rib. And that's who she is. She pushes me. She don't let me lack. She don't let me become complacent. She checks me. She makes me talk in a different mannerism. Like, you gotta be straightforward. The communication is great. We have absolutely fun. We have a ball with each other. She's become the love of my life, and I wouldn't change nothing about her, and I wouldn't change nothing about the decisions I made. Asia is just a beautiful woman inside and out, and I'm happy that I found her. I really, you know, I mean, when I talk about her, she makes me smile. So she's my joy. She's my sweetheart, and I appreciate every moment that we share together. You know, it's funny, we can't even stay mad at each other on phone calls or nothing. We can't stay mad at each other at all. She'll either come say something or I'll go say something, and yeah. So I'm excited about our journey, and I'm excited about our future.
Keeping going with that, what does it feel like being engaged?
So this was supposed to happen back in the summer, but it wound up not happening due to my job and stuff like that. And I think it didn't happen as well because I didn't know if I was ready. And I knew she was ready. I didn't know if I was ready. being engaged is exciting. Hearing her talk about just over the course of the last few days, talk about planning for the wedding, colors and stuff like that is exciting. Seeing her light up and the way we played it that night, where the song came on and she was bobbing her head. And every time I look at that video, and she didn't know what was up, and she looked up and she seen everybody looking at her with cameras and stuff like that, and turned around at me on that one knee. I think that was the most amazing, life-changing moment of anything that I've known. And when she said yes, it made me the happiest man in the world.
Just keep going with the last one.
That's the last one. Yeah, one more. What is it?
Granddad.
Who?
How's it feel being a granddad?
Oh, okay.
A lot of blessings for you coming around, you know. Last one. How does it feel being a granddad now?
She's beautiful. She's absolutely a beautiful, adorable granddaughter. I'm happy for my son. I don't feel old or I don't feel different, but me and my son, we kind of had our ups and downs all the time. And so seeing him become a father and just seeing her, it made me, it made me happy. They went to, I didn't know how attached I was to her and how me and him are attached because we played that tough role, but I actually cried when they got on the airplane to go to Vegas. It was a moment in which, you don't know how much you love your kids until that moment when they leave you and you know they're not going to be back for a while. And him moving to Las Vegas kind of like ripped me. And you don't know how much you really, 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 really love your kids until moments like that. And it really made me reflect and it showed me how much I honestly love him. And to see her, just peacefully sitting in that, just peacefully sleeping in her car seat and stuff like that, it was an amazing moment. Just the time I've been able to see her and the time she's been in my house and the time I went over there to see her. Just those moments will be life moments that will never change. So just ecstatic to have a moment. One more. Living a double life. Tell me about, so you created this documentary, this book. It's called Living a Double Life. Just give me a little bit about it. How do you want to say it? And then we do that. Can you stop that? We good?
No, we just keep going. So you created this documentary, you created this new book that's coming out called Living a Double Life. Care to speak on that?
Yep. So pretty much Living a Double Life, I think that this book and I think that this documentary will actually help a lot of men, actually help a lot of women. There's a lot of people that live a double life, and what a double life can be, rather you one foot in the church and one foot in the streets, or one foot in the church and one foot into something else, or rather your double life got nothing to do with the church. My double life was I was in the church, but I was also still in the street. So I wasn't fully committed to serving God the first maybe 6 to 7 months of me joining All Nations. I would come to church with thousands of dollars in my pocket. I would go home and bag up my cocaine and sell it. I would go home and get wasted with my homies, but then I would be sitting in the audience at church on Sunday mornings and Tuesdays or whenever they had events. And the crazy part is that I had a desire to want to be in the church, a part of the church, and wanted to let go of what I was doing, but I was too afraid of letting go of what I was doing. And I was too afraid to talk to somebody about it because I felt that they would judge me or look at me differently. and then it's gonna come out anyway. You can't burn the candle on both ends, like your grandma say. Eventually, it's gonna meet, and it did meet, and they didn't judge me. They were upset that I wouldn't share in the beginning because they wanted to help me through the process, but I was never, ever judged. So, for those people that want to live a double life, I just hope that this book and I hope that this documentary helps them come out of those things that keep them in bondage and keep them in those feathers and keep them in those chains. That's the purpose of the double life.